Okay, today is February 7th, and we're going to do a half-hour focus session. Today our focus is going to be on, for every button click, whether it's raise, fold, call, check, look at a related opponent stat. We are going to try... we're going to go ahead and post behind so we can get started here. We're going to play one table because this is going to be a little unwieldy to start, given that I'm going to try to do this every hand. I'm going to turn our poker tracker on. Post. Looks like we have King 5 suited. We don't have any stats up yet, so we can't quite do that. We do have position. This is a hand that I would raise from the button, but I'm certainly not going to call from cutoff with it. I know Popcorn. I've played against them, but I just don't recall what their stats look like at this moment. Not a great board for our hand, despite the one diamond out there and the potential backdoor straight draw. Queen puts up a gut shot for us. Now, Shizef has led into the original better. You've got to have at least two pair here. I'm thinking ace 10 or trip 7s, maybe trip 10s. Popcorn's probably got some sort of ace hand that they're going with. Two pair, queen 10. Okay. Well, at least I said it was two pair. We're going to go around the horn and just get familiar with VFIPs real quick and how many hands we have on folks. Packeth 88. Let's get that out of there. We've got 238 hands on. They are super loose and passive. Don't have any hands on this opponent or this one. Popcorn. Laggy, aggressive player. 28 BPFP, 24 PFR. We've got nothing on Dubertronics. So we've got two players that we can at least look at some decent history with. 1,000 hands on Popcorn, 239 with Packeth 88. And just from looking at stacks, looks like Ahu 2012 is winning right now with $21. It's 200 big blinds. And let's see, Popcorn is at 12. So they're up 120 big blinds. Dubertronics looks like they're down a little bit. So nobody's really down a lot. I'm supposing that whoever was here, I took the place of whoever was losing. 10-5 suited, this isn't even in our range, but we're still going to try to look at some stats as we make our fold here. If it comes from Popcorn. Let's see. Any steel stats on them? Let's bring up this S and that'll pop up. Surprised they didn't raise the button there. They like to be first in about 58% of the time. Seven, 8 offsuit is not in any kind of playable range that we're going to mess with here. So from the cutoff, Pophorn raises 29%, which is still high, but not the biggest frequency that they have. But it's still high. Fold here. Their EP and middle position opens tend to be about the same. Now this is a 3-bet hand, but we want to look at, first of all, if we have stats. Okay, we don't have stats versus this opponent. They did raise from under the gun, so this is probably a hand they're not folding. Question is, do we want to call, see a flop, and evaluate? We were already showing weakness if we call at this point. We're not going to 3-bet this yet, too early. Just going to let this go. Probably end up doing another recording later in the week or maybe next week after we've practiced doing this a bit. Maybe next time we'll get more opponents at the table that we've actually got some stats on. But this is fine for now. Just 2 opponents with stats. This will give us some practice and get us starting to look at other stuff other than the basic HUD stats we have. There's a small blind, open, fold, 50%. Pocket nines, we are betting this. Got no action so far from Ahu, so if he comes in here, we're going to be flying blind with him. We just know he's winning at this table and he's got position on us. About the same goes for Shisa, although we do have a hand, I'm guessing, that showed down. Queen 10 suited. And we take that down. I guess a stat that I could have looked at for Pophorn would be their fold to steal. Pocket fours. So we have 2 players sitting out. Pophorn is going to raise from the cutoff like he likes to do. How often does he fold to a 3-bet? Is this a good 3-bet hand? I don't see that fold to... Well, we know that he raises a lot, so we are going to go ahead and 3-bet this. We're essentially turning what could be a value hand for a set into a bluff, but I think it's pretty safe to do here. We haven't played much. We get called. So what's going to call there? Is that a float? Fold. Do you have a fold to C-bet stat? Yes, 70%. So we are going to bet half pot. We fold 70% of the time, so this is where our value range here. Not a big fan of us playing essentially, what, 4-handed right now? I guess we got another player here that just came in. Kind of seems like I'm going to be getting involved with Pophorn more than any of these other players here so far. So let's think about this. What is he checking back here with? He raised first in. He does a lot of raising first in and then folding. He does that 50% of the time. What was that stat? Is this one right here? Big blind versus small blind, open, fold, 50% of the time. This is an interesting stat. This player also folds to river bets 66% of the time. 16 out of the 24 rivers that I've seen him in out of the 1,000 hands. So he doesn't get to the river very often. We are flying blind against this opponent. We're going to raise our value hand though. And we'll just take it down. Second time we've had pocket nines, it just took it down. Alright, we're starting to get a profile built here, even though it's just 15 hands with Shisef. 27-20. They're keeping their action with some aggression pretty close together, which is a sign of a good player. Entering the pot with a raise. It's the first thing I usually look for. They've called 1 out of 5 times that they've played. The other 4 times were raises, first in. They won the hand that they called because that was against Popcorn, from what I recall. This was the stat I should have looked at when I 3-bet. Folds to 3, pre-flop 3-bet 60% of the time. He did not fold to our pre-flop 3-bet in that instance. Ace 10 offsuit, we're way out of position. That's not going to be played here. I would play that closer to cutoff or the button. And certainly play that in the cutoff or the blinds. So these pop-ups don't have a hover over that tells you what you're looking at. We are going to have to make a concentrated study session to go through the stats that are available and where things are located and how to use them. Somewhat familiar with this. Oh, we got a set of threes versus a flush. Oof. Popcorn got max value out of Sisif. It looks like. Put it on the turn. So Popcorn likes to 3-bet a bit, and they squeeze from the small blind. It's only 5% of the time, so that's probably going to be a value hand there. More likely than any other squeeze play that they make. They do that quite a bit from the big blind, and that does bring up their end from the button. I think that they've got something, jacks at least, probably stronger than that. I'm not sure why they checked it all the way down though. Ace queen, okay. It's weaker than I thought. Not a weak hand. Definitely difficult to play out of position the way that they did with a 3-bet. They kept full Tastic from c-betting. Don't know much about Doubletronics here. I think we are going to go ahead and see a flop with this hand. We have position. We're going to just fold this when they bet. They don't bet. So do we want to pick this up, or do we want to see what the turn brings? Let's check this down. If they let us. Well, any ace and any 9 wins us. What do we have on daughter? How about river stats? Nothing. Well, we're just gonna fold. No data on river bets, but I mean you could look at, I guess, c-betting. Given that there was no bet on the flop, So maybe the riverbed's sort of a delayed see bet. I'm gonna fold this. No see bet stats from that player from Dovertronics. We are going to bet this. We don't have any fold stats. We do have a fold stat from JDSF. Out of the 10 hands, they've folded 100% of their blinds to steal. That's going to work for us. Okay, so position here. Raise first from EP. That's pretty much not really getting to choose where they get their hands, so it's going to often happen in EP. And then they did that once against us with the small blind. They call. What are they calling with? Call check from the small blind. So far, Fotastic is starting to look like a fairly passive player. If I were in this hand with the hand that I have, I think I would have bet the flop. I would certainly be betting now with top and middle pair. Not afraid of sets. I think we'd have heard from them by now. Yeah. That's about what I would expect them to hold, is some sort of middle pair like that. Don't know what Fotastic had. They must have had an ace hand. Could have been ace king, ace jack. Oh, what is this? Small raise. We're going to let him get away with this. We don't have much equity if called. Popcorn first in from the button is 56% of the time. I mean, good candidate to 3-bet or even to call and see a flop and maybe bet him off the flop. Some aggression. Right now our 3-bet number is kind of high, but with his stats, I think that it's still warranted. Just need a better 3-bet bluff hand. 7-3 offsuit. I mean, it could work. Who knows? Sometimes you can flop those pretty hard. But we've got to be somewhat selective with our range selection. Even against hyper-aggressive players. Actually, maybe especially against hyper-aggressive players. So these guys have called down several streets. Well, the Jack-8 hand is surprising. This guy's going to get the designation of a fish. He had nothing going for him. Fold. Calls down with Jack-8 suited on a king high board board. Oh wait, actually the ace high board, wasn't it? That's what won. Alright, so we're going to have position on the 2 blinds. Again, Popcorn likes to 3-bet. Shit. Well, let's get this bet in there, and then we'll look at the stat. He likes to 3-bet quite a bit. Less from the small blind. If he 3-bets here, okay, he doesn't. We do get called in 2 spots though, and these guys have been fairly active. This is a fairly coordinated board. We know that Dubertronics likes to call down. Right now we don't have a hand. We have a hand with equity, but I'd rather check and see what Fotastic does here. He leads out, steals. I have the option of re-raising here. We're just folding. We're gonna fold. We have a high c-bet stat anyway. That was not a good board for our hand. They had position on us. We might have been ahead. I just don't know. Huh, wonder why his, well, that wasn't a donk flop. He took the initiative on the flop. The imposition versus no c-bet. Ah, that's where we see that. Okay. Well, we don't know how many instances that is, though. Could just be one. This is probably more instructive to look at Popcorn stats than anything else. If there had been Popcorn I was playing against, what's the flop? 71% of the time. First turn, 67%. Check raises. 3%, 3-bet check raise, none. Calls a check raise. Fold to check raise. Okay. Well, we are going to bet here. Now, he does have a high concentration of 3-betting. So we are going to 4-bet. If he tries to 3-bet squeezes here from the big blind, we're going to 4-bet. Put some extra pressure on him. No, he doesn't though. And if he shoves when we 4-bet, we fold. I can't open with this hand. I just don't like my positioning relative to some very active players who, if I even hesitate on a flop, will take the lead away for sure. Get some 3-bet action here. And some 4-bet action from a new player who just showed up at the table. Sat in with what, pocket aces? Probably. Or they want to let everybody know that the new sheriff in town. Got no history with D Shadow. Okay. What are they raising with? First in from cutoff. This is the first time. Almost all the raising has been from EP, which means that they're just playing their hands. They're not necessarily positionally aware with the range. Probably some ace hand. We did see them get involved with set of threes versus pop ones. Flush. I was not paying attention to when they got that in though, because I was messing with stats, I believe. Alright, King Jack from the small blind is akin to playing King Jack from the cutoff. I'm gonna fold. It's not even suited. We've been active enough here. We're vipping at 21%, which is on the high side for me. No reason to get involved with a mediocre hand or mediocre to weak hand, really. It's got broad raise potential, but it's a dog to any ace hand starting out. King, queen, king, queen. Well, this player is now employing a short stack strategy. They're going to be pushing, as you've seen there, king, queen plus. Well, I guess a raise and then a shove following that's probably in order. I think we all know that. They can use that to their advantage. It looks like they're going to start getting hyper aggressive here. That is half an hour. We're going to end this recording.